And welcome to Overnight America. A little past 11 o'clock in St. Louis. Thank you for joining us here, and we'll have some fun tonight. We're going to open up the phone lines, and we're going to welcome in our guest, Marc Rudov, who's going to be joining us in just a couple of minutes, all the way from California. He's a branding advisor to CEOs, a media commentator. You may have seen him on the major networks. I want to talk about communication with the president's office right now. How is that hurting his message? How is that hurting his brand, if that's even possible? I want to get his input on that. In fact, he said he'll take some of your calls. He writes for Newsmax. I know a lot of you read that news source. We'll open up the phone lines when we welcome him next on Overnight America, KMOX.
Making the darkness of night a little brighter. It's Ryan Wrecker and Overnight America on KMOX.
And welcome back to Overnight America. I want to thank our special guest who joins us now from California. Marc Rudov is a branding advisor to CEOs, media commentator, and author of Brand is Destiny, The Ultimate Bottom Line, and Be Unique or Be Ignored, the CEO's Guide to Branding. He appears tonight to discuss branding in business and politics, especially the brand of President Trump and the Republican Party. Welcome on through the Quiver River Electric Celebrity Line. Marc Rudov, thanks for joining us here.
Great to be here, Ryan.
You wrote that for me, by the way. That was a great intro.
I could have done even better.
Yeah, so on Newsmax, your recent article, Trump's brand is chaos. And it's been like this, it seems like, from the very start of his presidency. I don't remember a time where it wasn't a chaos brand.
I agree with you.
Yeah. Why is it in such chaos, though? Why can't they get their communications in order?
If you read the very first paragraph of The Art of the Deal, I'm talking about page 1, the very first paragraph of his book. Mm-hmm. He brags that he shows up at work every day with no particular agenda in mind. And I think that that's how he's handled a lot of his life. Now, let's face it, he's been successful, but it's been mostly private.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, his social life was public, but his wheelings and dealings, except when he got into financial trouble, they were all private.
Yeah.
So whatever he did, whether it was by the seat of the pants, we didn't know about it. Yeah. But when you're running something that's public, whether it's a public corporation or the government, it's all public. So you can't run by the seat of your pants. You can't be freewheeling. And so I think that's what he's been used to his whole career. And I believe that's why. And don't forget, a lot of what he's done publicly is becoming famous and maintaining his fame. And so that requires a lot of craziness.
Yeah.
And what he's doing now as president is very different. And by the way, he's done a lot of great things already. I mean, the GDP is now up at 2.6% per year. The illegals crossing the Mexican border dropped by 70%. Yeah. Unemployment is way down.
Right.
The Dow and the NASDAQ are way up. But as I said in that article you cited, most Americans cannot enumerate the successes that I just did. And the reason is they get obscured by the chaos.
Yeah.
So when for example, and in that article I said that according to a book, when Paul Manafort, his former campaign manager, tried to go on TV to get Trump's attention, instead of talking to Trump directly, Trump got really angry and said, "What am I, an effing baby?
He was.
You have to go on TV to get my attention."
Yeah, that was the quote.
He did the same thing, right? But he did the same thing to Jeff Sessions.
Yeah.
Instead of calling him into the office and saying, "I don't like what you did. I don't want you to be my attorney general anymore. You're fired."
Yeah. Isn't that the same?
He did it publicly.
Isn't that the same thing that supposedly happened on election night between him and Chris Christie as well?
Yeah, I think so.
It was something along those lines of who was going to get the call from the president at that point. And President Trump didn't like the idea that the Obama was going to call Christie's phone as opposed to his phone directly. Basically, did the same thing.
But the point is that Trump likes to do a lot of things publicly, and he does them without thinking it through.
Yeah.
And here's what chaos does. Chaos obscures your success. Chaos kills communication. And chaos does something else. It gives red meat to your enemies.
Mm-hmm.
And he has enemies within and without.
Yeah.
The people in the media don't want to write anything good about Trump. They only want to write bad things about Trump. The problem is he keeps handing them the red meat. They don't even have to work that hard.
What about there's a lot of people right now, they're using the classic argument that the red meat that's being handed out is used as purposely as a distraction. So it's trying to take away from another bigger story. Do you buy into that?
Well, okay, let's say for argument's sake that you're right. You don't want distractions.
Yeah.
And again, here's something else, that he loves Twitter. Do you know that only 21% of Americans use Twitter?
Mm-hmm.
That means 79% don't. So if he believes that is his chief communication channel, he's only communicating to 21% of Americans.
Sure.
That is not his best method of communication.
Yeah.
Well, it isn't.
I guess you could also argue...
every American has a radio, and every American has a television.
Yeah.
He could be doing more news conferences. There have been suggestions that he gives some presentations from the Oval Office. But the thing is that Twitter is a tool. Now, a tennis racket is also a tool. I can hit the ball with the strings, or I could hit the ball with the edge of the racket.
Yeah.
What is the best way for me to use that tool? Just because I have a tool in my hand doesn't mean I'm using it properly.
Yeah.
And so for him to use Twitter to express every thought that crosses his mind is distraction and leads to chaos. And as I said before, chaos kills communication. So Americans are hearing mostly what the media tell them.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he has his ardent fans who can Google everything he does, and they can enumerate the successes that he's had. But most Americans cannot. Now, if it gets bad enough, he can cost the Republicans the election in 2018. And if you think he has no support in Congress now, imagine how it will be if the Congress turns Democrat.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be in deep doo-doo.
Yeah.
So he needs a strong Congress behind him, and voters are very finicky, and they can turn, and the media, the mainstream media, are out to fry this president.
Yeah.
And if he keeps giving them bait, and if he keeps giving them the rope with which to hang him, they're going to do it. So for him to do, and I had mentioned this to you before in our conversation, when you're in broadcasting, whether you're broadcasting over the air or over a wire, there's a technical term called the signal-to-noise ratio. Mm-hmm. So everything that's broadcast is a combination of a signal. I mean, we're talking right now, and there's very low noise. I'm sure the audience can't hear any noise at all. But imagine a lot of white noise obscuring what we're saying. Mm-hmm. And you turn it up to the point where our conversation is completely masked and all you hear is noise. Well, that's happening with every outbreak of chaos.
Mm-hmm.
So with Kelly in there...
Yeah, General Kelly.
General Kelly, it's possible that he can put an end to all of that because he's going to instill order and discipline in that White House, which it has not had. Now, the question is, can he rein in President Trump to the point where he agrees that, yes, if I use Twitter, I'm going to be more judicious?
Or just let someone else do it for him. I mean, let's have someone else handle this would be better.
I don't mind if he communicates directly with the people.
Yeah.
But, again, only 21% of the people use Twitter.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of people who aren't getting it. And so how are the 79% of people who don't use Twitter, how are they getting the message from the president? I'll tell you how they're getting it. They're getting it through the media who hate him.
Yeah, and they're also the media who hates him also are getting it mostly from Twitter. So, I mean, they're just kind of relaying the information.
Well, they're relaying it in the way they want to, and they're putting their own spin on it.
Yeah.
So by the time that the 79% of non-Twitter users are getting it, it's not in the same form in which Trump is sending it out.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about
a good strategy.
Yeah, the shuffling of the staff. We've seen a lot of that in the past 6 months. And even since you've wrote your last article on Newsmax, Trump's brand is chaos. We already had one change up with their communications director, Anthony Scaramucci. So what does that say when you see that much of a change up? And how would you shuffle this staff to make it so it's moving in the right direction?
Well, I think getting rid of Scaramucci was a great idea, but bringing him in was stupid.
Why?
The guy doesn't have a communications background.
Yeah.
That is the communications director, for your audience who may not know, is usually a faceless person behind the scenes.
Yeah.
It's not the communications director does not stand there in front of the press corps. That's the press secretary.
Right.
The press secretary reports to the communications director.
Yeah.
The communications director is the person behind the scenes who develops the strategy for what is the message and how is the best way to communicate it and when is the best way to communicate it.
Mm.
And if you have a person in there who has never done that before, it's a disaster.
Yeah.
That's like so Scaramucci came from Wall Street. Take Sean Spicer, who was the communications director, and put him on Wall Street. He won't know what he's doing. So you have to have some background in that job if you're going to do an effective job. And Trump put a guy in there who had never done that before.
Yeah.
Just because you appear in front of a camera and a microphone does not make you a communications director.
Well, what about him as a brand? Does his brand now explode? Does he have more exposure because of all of this, even though he got let go?
Trump? Oh, Scaramucci.
No, Scaramucci, yeah.
I think that over time he'll go back to doing whatever he was doing and he'll be fine. But it's people will forget about it. And if he goes back, I don't know if he's going to go back to the ex-Im Bank or if he's going to go back to Wall Street. I don't know. But I think people have such short memory spans, they're going to forget about it.
Yeah.
But what's most important is the United States of America.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about that. Maybe because we have to go to a break here, but can we talk about the branding of the United States of America? Because people are coming out and they're saying it's never been lower. And that bothers me when I hear people talking that way.
No, I disagree. I think during the Obama administration, it was at the lowest ebb of all time.
All right.
And also, I did want to talk about the Republicans because the article I wrote before this one on Trump I called it the rhinoplasty.
Uh-huh.
And rhino is R-I-N-O, as in Republican in name only.
Yeah.
You need to get the rhinos out of Congress because they're not real Republicans.
All right.
We can talk about whatever you want to.
Yeah, let's hold that over for the next one. I'm going to open the phone lines, too. If you heard anything or you want to talk about maybe America's image on the national stage, which everyone says Trump is hurting, which I disagree, but 314-436-7900 or 800-925-1120. You can call in and you can have a discussion. We're going to hold on, and we're going to keep Marc Rudov on the line here, marcrudov.com, MarcRudov.com. Thanks for holding on here, Marc. We'll start getting some calls lined up, and we'll join you right after the break.
News Radio 1120 KMOX. St. Louis's news, traffic, and weather. Depend on it.
Welcome back to Overnight America. Marc Rudov, branding advisor to CEOs. Marc, welcome back. Thank you for holding on there.
My pleasure.
So here's the question led you before the break. It is America's image to the rest of the world. Everyone that opposes President Trump says the world couldn't think of us any lower right now because of the way President Trump is operating. What do you think about that?
No, I don't agree with that. I think actually, I have it in my first book, Be Unique or Be Ignored. which you can get at beuniqueorbeignored.com, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
I actually have a graphic in there, and I showed the old brand before Obama became president. And just to be clear, a brand is a value proposition. It's not tangible; it's intangible.
Mm-hmm.
And the old brand before Obama became president was power, prosperity, pride, and liberty. After he became president, it was impotence, insolvency, inferiority, and fascism.
Well, who did they survey for those words?
Those are mine.
Oh, those are your words. Okay.
Yeah, I made this. Yeah, I made this graphic. So, impotence. We couldn't do anything. We couldn't defeat terrorism. We didn't even try.
You mean the JV team is what you're referring to?
The JV team?
Yeah.
Well, how about the red line in Syria?
In the sand, yeah.
Insolvency. $20 trillion in operating debt and $220 trillion in unfunded liabilities.
Yeah.
That's disgraceful. Inferiority. He went on the apology tour.
Oh, yeah. Him and Hillary Clinton.
And fascism. The government telling the people how they should live, what they should buy, what they should think, what they should say. That's fascism. And that's the way the government was. So I think that Trump is actually bringing it back. And when Obama went to, was it China or Saudi Arabia? I can't remember. They didn't even show up to meet him at the airplane. When he went to Saudi Arabia, they rolled out the red carpet.
Oh, yeah. No, Saudi Arabia, they were there. Not only were they there, but man, everyone came out. It was like a big welcoming party.
Right. But the point is that despite the chaos right now, he actually is respected around the world because he has made it clear that he's not taking any crap from anybody. Yeah.
Hey, I want to get to a call here. Jerome's calling in from Illinois, and he wants to chime in on this. Hey, Jerome, thanks for calling Overnight America.
Well, hello, sir. How you doing? I'm very pleased to be on your show tonight, sir.
Sure.
I got a few comments about Mr. Trump. How can I say this? Basically, it's not that I like Obama more. Let me preface by saying this. But Donald Trump, to me, has absolutely no communication skills, people skills. He knows how to. He does know how to get a point across, but this is not the business world. You can't just slam across because there's not like with the one-on-one guy that you're tempting with money and so forth. We are a people with varying wants, varying needs, and he doesn't seem to have any, like I said, people skills. It's not like I don't, agree with some of the stuff he says. Unfortunately, he comes across as a fascist, a misogynist, sometimes a racist. And I'm not saying this is all fair, but this is kind of how he comes across.
So you're not saying it's true. You're just saying that's the way he's being depicted?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And, Barack Obama was not my favorite president at all. I mean, I wish Gary Coleman won the governorship in California got president before him. But he knew how to schmooze. He knew the narrative of what to say to get people to go along with his stupidity. Donald Trump just wants to go in there like a bull in a china shop and say, well, this is how we're doing it. If you don't like it, well, there's the door. There's the wall that hasn't been built yet, but go ahead and walk through the...
Yeah. Let me ask this. Hold on a second, Jerome. Let me ask this to Mark. If this is the impression that the president is trying to fight, how does he turn those impressions around?
Well, very good question, and I just want to comment on what Jerome said, that I'm not sure whether you're saying you believe these things about Trump or you are hearing these things about Trump. I'm not sure about that, but the problem is the same. That, first of all, I don't agree with you that Donald Trump is a bad communicator. He's an inconsistent communicator. And business is not just dealing one-on-one. You have a large organization. You have to communicate with all of your employees. And if you're in a public corporation, you have to communicate to all of the shareholders. So there are many opportunities for a CEO in the business world to communicate on a wide scale. The question is, when you're doing the communicating as the CEO, are you effective?
Mm-hmm.
If you can get people to react to what you say, remember what you say, repeat what you say, and actually do what you say, then you're effective. And if you're consistent and you get all corners of your corporation to be on the same page and saying the same things, then you're extremely effective. But if you're changing your direction like a wind vane every day, every hour, and getting people confused, then they start to doubt the speaker and they start to question, well, which is the real intention here? And that's where President Trump is having a problem. He's inconsistent, and when a lot of people attack him, he's not discriminating very well in whether and when he should retaliate. So,
well, let me ask. Can I ask this? Yeah, go ahead.
The question you asked, Ryan, is how can he turn it around?
Yeah.
And the way he can turn it around is to pick his battles, to pick his enemies, and to be consistent. And sometimes you just have to let things go. And yes, the media are trying to sabotage him, but if you go back to JFK and you watch some of his press conferences, he was very good at using humor to deflect some of the comments that were being hurled at him. And I think President Trump can learn a lot from watching JFK when he was in public, because once you get angry, you lose control of yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that he could use a lot more humor and sarcasm to attack his enemies. And sometimes his enemies don't even deserve any responses at all.
Well,
but if he just reduces the chaos in the White House, then there's nothing left for the media to focus on than success.
Yeah. Mark, hold on. I got to ask Jerome this real quick before he goes. Jerome, where do you normally get your news from? What websites or what sources?
Quite frankly, I listen to you guys, and, if I see a credible source on Facebook, I'll kind of look at that or whatever, but I try to be careful not to. Did people, say fake news like it's a new thing? Good grief, that stuff's been going on forever. That's why you don't listen to idiots. You listen to reputable news sources like you guys.
Yeah.
Like MTV, they would used to sell stuff like it was news. It's like, oh, this is garbage and it's fake. So now I listen to you guys actually primarily, and I listen to a lot of sports news, which doesn't really care. And I read Time Magazine every week. I read the Smithsonian Institute magazine. I get it once a month or so.
Okay.
And I try not to be an idiot about my news. I don't have cable television because that costs millions and millions of dollars per year. And
all right.
I try to be smart about it.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Jerome. Appreciate your calling here today. All right. So
Jerome made a very interesting comment. He said that Barack Obama was very good at schmoozing. But he was an ineffective president.
Yeah, he was very submissive, and that's something the president now isn't. He's not submissive.
The people on the left who love Obama loved him because he was no drama Obama. He was too cool for school. He was just, everybody loved him. But he was ineffective.
Yeah.
And the rest of the world made snide comments about him and actually had very little respect for him.
All right, well, you know what? You just said something less effective. President Obama less effective than President Trump. I know there are people that are listening right now that will disagree with that. Can you hold on? We'll take a couple more calls after the break.
Sure.
We'll do one more break here. Okay, so if you disagree, if you really think if President Obama was more effective than President Trump, I want you to lay out your argument. 314-436-7900 or 800-925-1120. And we're going to hold on to Marc Rudov one more time, marcrudov.com. And, of course, author of Brand is Destiny, The Ultimate Bottom Line. We'll get his thoughts coming up next on Over in America, KMOX. And welcome back, Marc Rudov. He's a branding advisor, media commentator, author. Brand is Destiny, The Ultimate Bottom Line. Joining us tonight, business, politic, branding. Love it all. Marc, welcome back again, and thanks for holding on. Brian, are you there?
I am indeed.
All right, great. Okay, so Brian, you're on with Marc Rudov. The question that we mentioned before the break was, how effective are the presidents? Do you think President Obama is more effective than President Trump?
Yeah, there's no question about it. I mean, Obama, remember, when Obama took office in 2009, the U.S. economy was shedding 750,000 jobs a month. He was able to take the unemployment rate from 10% to 4.7%. I mean, he signed the Affordable Care Act, ultimately guaranteeing the American people the right to health care. And the Republicans tried to take that away, but they couldn't do that. They failed miserably on that. He ended the war in Iraq. He captured and killed Osama bin Laden. He supported, remember, LGBT community.
Yeah.
Gay marriage didn't exist before Barack Obama was president, and now gay people can live out and get married.
Okay. Well, you just gave a lot of examples there. So, Mark, how would you counter that? How has President Trump been more effective?
Well, Obama ran the economy into the ground. We had
he didn't. Come on. No, he didn't.
Sir,
the economy was falling.
Sir,
No. I won't sit back. I won't sit back and listen to that. No, sir.
You know what?
The reality was.
Hold on. Let him answer, Brian. Let him answer.
Wait, Brian.
But it's untrue.
Brian, I sat there and I listened to you. Didn't I?
I'm going to listen to you. I'm going to listen to you spew absolute BS.
No. Well, listen, you didn't even listen to his answer yet, Brian.
See. What you say, Brian, is absolute wisdom, as though you're an oracle, and what I have to say is rubbish. So I listen to you, now you're going to listen to me.
All right, Brian's on hold right now, so go ahead, Mark. You can say your piece, and we'll bring him back up.
When you double the debt you have, you're not prosperous. Whether you're a business or whether you're a family or whether you're a government. When you double the debt, and that's what he did. He took the debt from $10 trillion to $20 trillion. The ACA has practically bankrupted thousands of businesses across the country. There are people who have no health care now because of Obamacare. When your deductibles are $12,000 a year and your premiums have skyrocketed by over 100%, you don't have health care. Iraq, because Obama pulled out of Iraq, he created ISIS. And regarding the LGBTQ community, when you're telling people, when you're getting the federal government involved in toilets, it's a pretty sad state of affair. The fact of the matter is, we had more people not working during the Obama administration than we had in 4 or 5 decades. Home ownership was at its lowest point since the 50s. There were the unemployment rate that Brian cited was the unemployment rate that is irrelevant. Mm-hmm. So when you're not looking for work anymore, you're not even considered in the workforce.
Right,
so
they
that's
dropped
a
that
bogus
stat.
number.
Yeah.
So the fact of the matter is that within a short period of time, 6 months since Trump has become president, the unemployment rate has dropped to the lowest point in, I think, a decade. There are now more people working than in a very long time. And businesses are now announcing almost on a weekly basis that they're going to build plants in America, putting people back to work. They weren't doing that. They said when Trump became president, we're not used to this. We now have a president who actually likes business.
Yeah.
And Calvin Coolidge said it best. The business of America is business. And there is no right to health care. So Brian said there's a right to health care. There's no right to health care.
You're right. Well, Mark, we have to go. We got to get to news. And Brian, thank you for your call. But Marc Rudov, branding advisor to CEOs. Brand is Destiny, the ultimate bottom line. You're author of that book, plus Be Unique or Be Ignored. How can people reach out to you?
They can go to marcrudov.com. And if you're running a business and you want to kick the butts of your competitors, I can help you do that. In addition to my books, I offer private consulting.
Perfect. Thanks, Mark.
Great being with you, Ryan.